Alright guys, it's Justin again with another unboxing video. This is going to be an unboxing for the Kingdom Death Dung Beetle Knight expansion set for the Kingdom Death game. You don't have to buy all of these in order to play the game. You don't have to buy any of these to play the game. These just kind of add extra Nemesis and monster encounters that you can farm for additional gear and stuff like that. I was going to shoot this on my desk instead of my bed, but my desk is a mess right now because me and my girlfriend have been painting minis on them. I've been trying to teach her some stuff and get her into the hobby a little bit, so we'll see where that goes. But anyway, this is the first expansion that I'm going to do an unboxing for. This is the Dung Beetle Knight. This is out of all the models that I've gotten so far, this is the only one that I've already got. But this actually comes with all the rules and the cards and stuff to actually play in the game, as opposed to just being a collectible model. This has also been upscaled for gaming use. So I'm going to go ahead and take everything out of the box, and we can go over everything. A lot of these come packed with peanuts. So I'm sure I'll have a nice collection of those on the end of the bed by the time I'm done with all this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get into the simple stuff first. I'm not going to open this up, but the first thing you get is a, what is it called? A settlement card. There's a couple different phases in the Kingdom Death game if you've played it. And one of the phases is the settlement phase, where you can build additions to your settlement or your town or village or whatever you want to call it, and then each one lets you do different things. So this one is the wet resin crafter, so I assume that the Beetle Knight's armor is made out of a resin, and it takes a special kind of crafting in order to make it. And then you can see here that you can actually make all of his armor and equip it. And some of these are weapons, some of these are armor, and then these will require certain other additional materials that you have to have in order to craft some of these other things. But you can craft all this just out of regular stuff. You get a divider, or you get two dividers. One is for gear and one is for the actual AI cards and stuff like that. You'll get an AI deck, a resource deck, I believe set bonus deck, a couple of other ones. I don't know if I'm going to open all of these for every set, just because I don't want them to get damaged or lost, but I will open this one so that you can see them, and you can see what a typical set will come with, as well as some of the other things. So these are strange resources. These are resources that are pretty much exclusive to the Beetle Knight. In this case, you will get Skell, and then it tells you what it is. It's an organ, and it's a consumable, and then it tells you what it does. You can use it during the Black Harvest, and then you get, there's four of the same card. These are Preserved Caustic Dung. It is an organ, it is a consumable, and it is dung. And then it shows the effect down here at the bottom. Another cool thing is that all these cards are color-coded, so you don't have to do a whole lot of trying to figure out what goes where. So this is Dung Beetle Knight loot cards. So here's the beetle horn, that is a bone. Fingernails, that's also bone, you get a couple of those. There's hide, century shell, which is hide or iron. Compound eye, it is an organ, and it is consumable. I don't know how to pronounce that. Elytra. Bone hide organ. Scarab shell, that is a hide. That's the more common. Scarab wing, that is an organ. And then underplate fungus, and that is an herb, hide, and a consumable. And then that is all things that you can loot from the Dung Beetle Knight when you kill him. Excuse me. These are... I was way off. These are hunt phase cards. So the other phase. There's the hunt phase, the showdown phase, and the settlement phase in the game. The hunt phase is when you're actually fighting or looking for a monster. So I believe that means the Dung Beetle Knight is not not a Nemesis monster. There's two kinds of monsters in the game. One is a Nemesis. One is I can't remember what the other ones are called, but the other ones you can hunt over and over and over again. Nemesis monsters you typically only fight once. They're like bosses, and these will be put down on the board. And as you pass over them, you'll read the effects, and then you'll roll a die, and then whoever rolls the die can trigger certain effects based on your result. So that one's slightly a different color. It's just ever so slightly different. But yeah, each one of these has a different effect and can help or harm you depending on how you roll. These are really cool. These are one of my favorite parts of the whole game. So, when you're fighting monsters in Kingdom Death, there are two decks, and rather than somebody controlling the monster directly, they will draw cards from what is called the AI deck. And what that means is you'll draw this card, it will tell you what happens to the monster, and then it will take its action based on what card it draws. Rather than somebody controlling and picking out players, the cards itself, you'll actually take turns. You'll pass a card around, and each player will take turns drawing cards when it's the monster's turn. And I believe there are bonuses for attacking your own character to kind of break you out of the habit of attacking somebody else and forging rivalries within your own party. But each one has its name, the name of the move, how it targets, how it attacks, and then when you're done, you do the thing, and then the card's resolved. And then the same thing works with when you're attacking the monster. You can actually, you fight the monsters, or you fight each monster or whatever, and you will, after you hit, you will draw one of these cards. And each card has an effect on it, where you hit the monster, and then how you hit the monster. And then each one also has a critical effect. So if you roll a 10, you will do critical damage to the monster, and it will explain the effects and what happens and how the monster reacts, things like that. You will receive one completed armor set bonus, and then this can kind of be shared between cards. This just kind of shows just a generic character wearing the armor, what it looks like, and then it shows what effects you get for having an entire set bonus. So there are bonuses for completing entire sets of armor, and it's worth doing. Next we have, there's only a couple of these. These are tactics cards. I believe these affect how the matches play out. Depending on the level of the monster that you fight, certain tactics will come into play versus other tactics. So you use those depending on how you, I guess, approach the situation. I'll have to look at the rulebook and see exactly what the tactics cards do. These are disorder cards. When you take a certain number of points in brain damage, you will receive disorders, and these will change the way your character plays. So for example, this one gives you motion sickness. Whenever you suffer a knockback, you get one bleeding token instantly, which means if you take 5 knockback attacks in one game, you die. And this one makes it so you are obsessed with vermin. Whenever there's a bug spot terrain tile on the show board, you are so overwhelmed that you become doomed. So that can really hurt you in the long run if you stack too many of those. There are terrain tiles, which change the terrain around you, and it explains the Dung Beetle Knight's resin dung ball that he pushes around. These are 2 innovation cards. Use these during your settlement phases, and they will help you build your settlement and make it stronger, make it better. Next we have 2 fighting arts cards. You can learn these and it will teach you different ways to fight. So each one will give you better effects and make you more effective in combat, and they give you better abilities. Super self-explanatory. This is a secret fighting art. You have to do a lot of different things to learn these, and they give you a great benefit as opposed to a normal benefit. And then the last card you have is your Beetle Knight's actual stat cards for levels 1, 2, and 3, and it shows you how to set up the board, his attacks and all that stuff, and on the other side it has his basic actions. So now that we've gotten through all the cards, we can go to the last little bit here. I know that you guys are probably carded out at this point, but these aren't really excuse me, God. These aren't the same kind of cards. These are gear cards, and these go in your what's it called? Your gear grid. The game has a very unique armor system where you get a 3x3 grid to put your gear in. So based on how you equip your survivors, if I can get this open. Oh my God. Sorry, technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay. So based on what gear you have for your character and how you want to gear your character out, you will put a piece in the gear grid. And then when you put another piece on the gear grid, you can match up these tiles. And when you match up a certain number of tiles, some gear cards will have, let's see if any of these have it. There we go. This one says if you do a green puzzle piece, or if there's another blue puzzle piece completed, well, you have to do both. So you have to tag a green piece on the side here, and then anywhere else on the board there can be a blue one. You will get 1 ripple pattern to your roll results. I don't know what that means. It's probably explained in his rule book. But another thing is some of these are actually double-sided. So this one is the Calcified Juggernaut blade, and on the other side it is the Regenerating blade. So Calcified Greaves, Century Greaves, you can change between them. Zenbato and a Calcified Zenbato. Digging Claw, Calcified Digging Claw. And then each one has its own abilities, its own strengths and weaknesses. I'm sure there's an advantage to using either or. And then these are just single-sided. And on the back they say Wet Resin Crafter, and that's for the crafting through the Wet Resin Crafter, obviously. Excuse me. So I'm sure the reason most of you are here are to see the minis. I'm going to go ahead and tear into this so you can see what it looks like. You're going to get 2 small bases. These are just simple 30 mil bases. You're going to get 2 50 mil bases. You are going to get a Dung Beetle Knight male armor kit for customizing characters. And then you are going to get a Dung Beetle Knight armor kit. And I think this one is not for gender, so this one basically just has the chest pieces and the legs. Those are the only differences. Oh, and you get a head. But these kind of just get plugged onto your character, so if you want to use them, you just put them on. It comes with some swords, you get some claws, A bunch of claws, actually. You get 2 legs. I'm not sure if those are male or female. There's the female head. I believe that's the female's torso. Okay, so just the remaining pieces of the armor set are on this. Oh, excuse me. I don't know what is wrong with me right now. Anyway, on this set, you actually have the Dung Beetle Knight itself. So, separated into 2 pieces are the resin ball. Here is the base for the ball, and then that gets mounted to one of the larger 50mm bases. And then the same thing goes for the Beetle Knight himself. Here are his massive pauldrons. These are one of his many little feeler claws. He's got 2 wings. He has a huge head. He kind of looks like Nightmare from Soul Calibur. There's his legs on the front half anyway, and then the back half. That is going to be a pain to put together. Oh my god, why did you do that? What else? His sword, his feet, I believe that is a elbow. And then his other arm is over here. So you get 1 free hand. Good God, it's got a pretty good weight to it. But this should be a lot, it shouldn't be too hard to put together outside of fixing the 2 halves of the front and the back of his lower waist. But it should be pretty straightforward. It should be a lot of fun to put together. It shouldn't be too difficult to paint, I don't think. I don't know how I'm going to paint him yet, but that's what that looks like. The last thing that you're going to get in these sets is the rule book, and this explains how these scenarios get added to your campaign, at what point they get added, and other basic rules. You'll see a large art spread of the Beetle Knight. He is typically a purple and a green with some yellows thrown in there. I might just do him in those colors because it looks really cool. And this explains everything that is in his set. It shows how to add all the updates, and then this adds additional story events to the game. This adds to your campaign. He comes into play at year 8, so you go through 8 phases. And if your campaign is still alive, then you can go ahead and do that. These are his decks, and then it explains how he and his gear comes into play. It explains how the calcified gear works, as well as additional rules for like pushing apparently his strategy is pushing the player around. He can also dig, I guess. Yeah, he can burrow, and it even covers burrowing into environment pieces. Then there's some story. I'm not gonna stick through this because I don't want anybody to be spoiled if you care about the story and the lore to Kingdom Death. I don't want anybody to be mad at me for that. And then it shows how to set up the hunt board as well as the showdown. It shows spelunking, some other events. And then at the end of all these, there seem to be just a blank page. I don't know what that's for, but it's there. So that's been my unboxing for the Kingdom Death Dung Beetle Knight expansion. If you can get your hands on one, I think this is going to be one of the ones that gets a lot of mileage because it's not a Nemesis encounter. You can hunt him over and over and over again. There you go. It's called a quarry. So you don't have to worry about just fighting or doing an event one time and then boxing it. Even though some of the cooler ones do get boxed, this one definitely won't be one of those. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you at the next unboxing or the next video, whatever you decide to watch. See you next time. Later.